In today's video, we will be going over how to start using Unreal. Basically where to download it, how to install it, what the controls are, and we'll even start writing a little bit of blueprint to get you guys started on your Unreal journey. I started this back when I was 10 with, I think it was called Unreal Editor back then. And now 27 years later, I'm still using Unreal Engine 5.1 now to do my career. So it is a very, very versatile engine. You can do renders, you can do videos, movies, video games, VR, architectural visualization. There's thousands of possibilities. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So in order to download it, first you'll need to go to unrealengine.com, make an account, and then hit download. Actually, I think you don't even have to make an account, to be honest, but I would suggest making one. Simply because you can get free assets every month, all that good stuff. Right, then hit download, and we're gonna close out of this. Once you have installed that, it'll give you a nice little installer. You double click on it, open it up. I'm not gonna insult y'all's intelligence. I guarantee you know how to install some stuff, but you'll be met with a screen that looks something like this whenever you open it, which is basically the Epic Games launcher. A lot of you are probably already very, very well versed in this, but now there's a new button for you, Unreal Engine. When you click that, you'll be brought to this screen. You want to hit Library, and you'll be met with the blank area here for your Unreal Engine versions. You'll want to hit the plus, and then select the engine version that you're wanting to use. I would suggest whatever the latest one is. At the time of recording, that would be 5.1.1. Go ahead and install that. It'll do all of its prerequisites that it needs. Once it says launch, go ahead and click that. As you can see, it doesn't take very long for it to load up. You guys won't have any projects yet, but what you can do is click games, because if you're here, you probably want to create a game or something. I don't really know all the other stuff, the film editing and architecture, automotive and design, that type of stuff I don't really know how to get into. I guarantee there are plenty of content creators out there that can teach you guys that, but you can still get a little bit of use out of it, because today we'll just be going over the extreme basics of how to use Unreal. I'm going to create a third-person game really quick. I'm going to have starter content selected just so that we have something very easy to mess with, and I'm just going to call this beginner underscore toot for tutorial, and hit create. Oh, also I have blueprint selected, which comes by default, so don't worry if you already hit create like I did. It's already selected, you're fine. If not, make sure that it's selected. We won't be going over C++ today, just blueprint. Okay, so now after it prepares its shaders, all that good stuff, this is the screen you should be met with. Obviously, anybody that's ever used an application before, you'll see that you got file up here where we can open and save and all that good stuff, edit, where your undo, your preferences, your plugins, all that good stuff are. Window, which you might be interested in this, you can actually put in different content browsers or set up however you want your layout to be on this, but that's the gist of it. Everything else, I mean, select, you can go into what you want to select and how you want to select it and all that good stuff. But anyways, not going to get into all that. That's for a later video. I'm sure you guys will probably find that stuff through doing your tutorials that you're going to go through of how to create some sort of whatever thing it is that you're wanting to create, right? So let's just push right along. I guess the first thing we should go over, or the next thing we should go over, is the outliner, which the outliner basically houses everything that's in your level. So if I click on this cube here, you notice it is selected this cube out here. If I select here, you notice that it's populated over here. So this outliner basically has everything that's in your level at that time, and you can go through and find all the different stuff, like all the volumetric fog stuff. It's all going to be over here on the left. And this is where you can find it if you get lost. Like, hey, where did I put that chamfered cube? You can scroll around in here and go, oh, hey, there it is. Or you can search. Once you find it, like maybe you still can't see it, you can actually press F to focus in on it, and it'll bring your camera in on that. Next thing, how do you move your camera around? The easiest way to do it, in my opinion, is just hold right click. You can look around. There you go. And then with right click still held, you can use WASD to move forward, back, left, right. And if you want to move up and down, that's down is Q and E is up. So Q and E, WASD. Very, very simple. If you want your camera speed to go a little bit slower, you can, while holding right click, you can rotate your scroll wheel towards your hand, and that'll make your mouse go slower. If you want to go faster, you can rotate the scroll wheel's not working. But you can, there it goes. Scroll forward and it will make it go a little bit faster. I think I need to get a new mouse. Yeah, it's getting a little weird. There we go. That is how you can move around in the scene. Now, how do we mess with objects in the scene? You'll notice that when I select these things, that it already comes up with a gizmo that if I click and drag on the arrows themselves, it will move that object around. Good thing to note about these objects is they have like the arrows, but you'll also see these little crossbars in between them. And if I select one of those crossbars, it will move in both of those directions. So this one at the bottom here between these two arrows, it'll move in both those directions at the same time. Maybe I want to move up and to the left, or up and to the right, or maybe even down. Or if you want to just move it in free form, you can just select right on the center. There you go. Easiest way to do it though is just up, down, left, right is the easiest. But that's how you move it. Now, very, very simple way of explaining this. You'll notice up here in the top bar we have Q, W, E, and R. This is our selection, which will allow us just to select an item. W, which is our translate or movement tool, will allow us to pick an item and then move it. And then rotate, which is E for the hotkey. So as you can notice, I can press Q, select W, move, E, rotate, and then same thing, instead of arrows we have these bars that we can select and drag, and it will rotate it in different directions. Okay, and then R, which is our scale, same idea. We can scale it out in different directions or in multiple directions at once, however you want to do it. So that is the very basics of how to move, rotate, and scale items. Now, if you want to do this in a more direct way, I'm going to hit undo, Control Z to get down to this. Let's say I wanted it to be rotated completely 0. You'll notice that when I select it over here in the details panel, scale this up. It has all the information about this cube, and trust me, there's a lot of information that you can go through about it. But the main information I want you guys to look at right here is we have this rotation, and we can just set this to 0, and then bam, we're set back to completely default. You'll also notice that if I do rotate this, now it has a little arrow here, and I can just click that arrow to reset it as well. Same thing here, like let's say we want to scale it, but we want to scale just on the X. Maybe we want to make it 2 on the X, then maybe 3 on the Y, and we can just completely set this up however we want it. And then if we don't like it, we can reset it. So there are your basics. Where the details panel is, where the outliner panel is, how to move stuff around in the scene. And now, just for simplicity, I'm going to show you guys how to just write your first little script in the world and get you on your path. So there are 2 different ways of coding an event in Unreal. Basically, either you can make it an event that's based off of a blueprint. It's like, for example, this guy is a blueprint. This is a point in space that you would spawn from. It has all this logic inside of it, which I wouldn't actually really be able to call this a blueprint because it's more of an editor function. Let's go into the character here. This is a blueprint. The character itself is a blueprint. It houses all of its own information, and if I want to get information from this blueprint, I can call this blueprint to get the information from it. So those of you that if you're coming over from Unity or some other game engine, the same ideas and like in C#, including a file. So in this case, we can also code directly in the level, and the code will only be housed in that level. So it's like, let's say this was level 1 and you completed some task on this and it sent you to level 2. Level 2 would not have that code. Think of blueprints as being kind of like prefabs. They are, if let's say you make a door that you can open and close, that is, if you put that door, you can put it out repeatedly and it will always have the same code. Actually, you know what, let's just code it and I can show you those two different ways really, really fast instead of confusing the crap out of you with how I'm saying this. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go up to this plus here. This is another way of how you can grab some shapes and stuff and put them directly out into the world and move them around, or you can do it from grabbing your meshes in here. But this is our quick add, and so I'm gonna click on the quick add and I'm just gonna start typing trigger. I'm gonna get a trigger box and I'm gonna put this, you know what, let's make like a little doorway out of this cube that I made. And the way I did that cube is I hit the plus here with the shapes, got the cube. Once you have a cube, I'm going to scale this guy up a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to hold Alt and drag. That's going to duplicate cube. And I'm going to press E and then hold Alt and scale and like rotate it to the left. You notice it copied it again. And so now we have this really weird doorway, and I scaled it down there to make our door top a little bit better looking. And now I'm going to put this trigger here and I'm going to scale it out. So this trigger basically will send information whenever it is overlapped. Whenever a character, let's say that this little cube thingy here is our character and we move along and it goes through there, it's going to send information on when it starts to overlap and when it ends the overlap, going either way. All right. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to click on the outliner here, I'm going to press F2 and I'm going to call this the hello underscore trigger. Okay. And then I'm going to, with it still selected, I'm going to come up here to this little 3-prong or 2-prong item and I'm going to click on it and go to open level blueprint. Inside of here, I can just right click. And because I have that selected, I have all this information in the top for it. I can either create a reference to it or I can come up here to add event. That's what I want to do. Go to collision and begin overlap. And then another one, add event, collision, add on actor, end overlap. So now we want to find out who overlapped. And actually, you know what? We're not going to even get that involved into it. We'll just, any overlap will cause this to trigger. I think it'll be perfectly fine for our purposes. But when something overlaps it, I'm going to have it print hello. And you notice it even defaults to hello right there. I'm going to copy that. And when it ends the overlap, I'm going to have it print goodbye. We can compile and save that. And then I can just hit play and run straight through this little doorway. You notice in the top left there, it says hello and goodbye. I run straight to the middle, it just says hello, disappears, run out, it says goodbye. That is the enter or the begin overlap, and then that is the end overlap on that trigger. Okay, that is one way of coding in Unreal, which it's not the most versatile way. Depending on your needs, you can do whatever you need to do. Why did this unload? I've been having this happen lately. How do I get this to reload? Okay, sorry about that, guys. If you had it to where your stuff unloaded, just click on it and you'll see these little pens, and then just click the pen. There you go. It will pin it to the world. I'm not sure. This is something to do with world partitioning, I think. Not 100% sure. I've been working in 5.0 a lot lately. 5.1 brings in a whole bunch of different changes, so I do have a lot of catching up I need to do. But if that happens to you, clicking the pin does fix it. All right. So now let's make a blueprint that does basically the same idea. So what we're going to do is in this content drawer here, which I forgot to go over in the beginning. We open that up, go to content. I'm going to right click on content here, which this is where all of your stuff for your game goes, is inside a content folder. I'm going to make a new folder in there, just to keep things nice and tidy, and name it blueprints. And then I'm going to right click inside of that folder. So this is where you select your folder. This is what goes inside of your folder. I'm going to make a new blueprint class of type actor and call it BP underscore hello. Open that up. And now we have like another viewport, kind of like our viewport here, but this one is just showing the blueprint itself, like what's going into it. So what I can do is just add a cube, and I'm gonna take that cube and I'm gonna scale it down. So we're here on the right in our details panel. I'm gonna set this to 0.01 on the z-axis, which would be the up-down axis. And you know what? We can even change the way it looks and make this one kind of the basic asset 2 material. So the way I did that, guys, is with the cube selected, I came over to the details panel. I went to the Z, scaled to 0.01 on the scale. You see that? And then also down here in materials, I just hit this drop down and I found a material that I liked. And we'll have another episode on how to make materials. But for now, that one will work perfectly fine. So now we're basically gonna make this like a trigger pad. So what we need for our trigger pad is a collision, something for the player to collide with. And like us reasonably in the real world, we think collide as in hitting something. But in game sense, collide could mean overlapping with it, like sticking your hand in jello. You're still kind of colliding with it, right? Even though you're more in it than hitting it, right? So we're gonna hit add right here and type in collision. You'll see that we have 3 different types of collision. For this one, I'm going to use a box because it fits my shape of my square here. I'll raise that box up, so with it selected, I can raise up the collision. And the same controls apply here. So if I want to scale this around, I can. And if I want to make it to where I can get it exactly on there, I can actually turn my grid snap off, or I can change the snap amount. So I'm going to set to 1. And then there we go. That looks like it fit exactly on there. It's not going underneath it or anything like that. I compile and save that. So there is our trigger. So basically, yeah, we're building our trigger here. Whereas here we already had a trigger kind of made, but we couldn't change the logic of that trigger as much as we want. I mean, we can. That's the whole. Okay, not gonna get into that. Basically, that one was built using the level. This one is going to be built something where I can actually just I can populate the world with these repeatedly. So like I said, kind of like a prefab, the way we're doing it this way. All right, so I'm going to put this exactly how I want it. You'll notice that the grid snapping changed in here whenever I changed it here. All right, so now we want to add some code to this. What happens when we do overlap with this trigger? So I'm going to go to the event graph. I'm actually going to delete all this, so just click and drag, hit delete. And then I'm going to click on our box here, and actually I can right click on it, go to add event, begin overlap. So a lot like how we had it in our third person blueprint, now we have the same idea here. Then we can again pull off of here and type print. Now you'll notice that whenever I'm pulling off of this, we get this line between them, basically saying this event, whenever the event of begin overlap is fired, which is something inherent to collision, whenever that is fired off, and it's fired off meaning that it has happened, it will send information to this saying, hey, I now want to do this thing. If this was not connected, the way I disconnected that, guys, if you want to know, is I held Alt and then left clicked on it, and that'll disconnect it instantly. Or you can just right click here and say break this link, however you want to do it. Anyways, if it was not connected, this would not fire. So think about it just like reading a book. You're gonna read it from left to right. And no, you nerds, I'm not talking about mangas, okay? Calm down. You read it from left to right. And if it's not connected, then it doesn't read this. So, you know what? Manga. There we go. So now when we overlap with it, it's going to say hello. It's not going to say manga. It's going to say hello. Because manga is not plugged in. And if we put manga here and plugged it in, it would happen after this. I know this is probably insanely basic, and a lot of you guys are like, oh, no duh. You know what I mean? But trust me, I have taught a lot of people how to use this, and that is not the most intuitive thing to a lot of people for some reason. But once you catch on to it, it's easy from there. There, we have our hello. As soon as we overlap, we're going to have our hello. And then we also want to have it as soon as we end the overlap, just like before. So I'm going to right click on box, add event, end overlap. So add on component end overlap. We want it to say goodbye. The way I'm straightening this, guys, is I select both and I press Q and they straighten. Type in goodbye. Okay. And so now I can actually duplicate this guy as many times as I want. You hit play. Anytime I walk onto one of these things, it says hello in the top left there. Walk off, it's going to say goodbye. Same thing here. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. So very, very simple code. We walk through this thing. Hello, goodbye. Two different ways of writing the same thing. Just think of this as being only level specific. This code will only ever work for this level. No other level will have access to this code in order to use it. And it will only work in this location for that specific trigger. So two different ways of doing it. You may have need for it to work the way this one works. And trust me, I've found 1,000 times that I've done that. I've coded a specific door at that specific location in just the level blueprint because it was just the most convenient thing to do. But if you want a reusable item like this, we can do that very easily. I have to stop myself because I really want to go in here and show you guys how to turn this into a variable and make it to where you expose so that we can very easily come in here and change what it says. Maybe this one says fart. I don't know. And if we leave, it says, let's see, this would be our leave string and our enter string. I spelled string wrong. If you're keeping up with me, then I'm giving you a quick tutorial on how to do it. But honestly, the reason I'm not stopping and going over how to do this really is because it's not what what this whole thing is about. I'm kind of just showing what you could do with this. So now we've made it where I can change this on the fly. For each one. What is it in Spanish? Adios. Yeah. Voila. There we go. So now we can pass through information into each one of these, so it's a little bit more modular. Now I walk on here, it says fart, and then it tells us that we smell. And this one is going to say hello, and when we leave, it's going to say goodbye. And this one's going to say hola, and when you leave, it's going to say adios. So very simple. I know that I probably made this video, just like I make all of them, way too long. But I like to be very, 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 very descriptive on how to do all this stuff, because I hate the tutorials that you might come across, which a lot of people got a lot better about not doing this anymore. But when I was learning, a lot of the tutorials I would come across would be, this is how you do it, not why you do it or anything like that. It's just do this, then do this, then do this, then do that, not why. And as you guys get into more and more extensive tutorials, you're going to be asking, well, why do I do this instead of doing it this other way? Or why do I need to do all these things? And if you don't know the answer to that, it's not going to stick in your brain as well. So if you guys like that type of teaching and want to stick around even more, check out my other videos. Comment in my comment section about what type of videos you want to see if you don't see it in my playlists already. Or join the Discord and just ask for some help. I'm around for all that stuff. And if you made it this far in the video, guys, I really want to thank you so much. You have no idea how much that actually helps the channel. If you want to help even further, leave a thumbs up or a comment below, or both, honestly. If you want to help even more than that, I do have a Patreon. And the reason I talk so quietly, guys, if you haven't noticed, it is really early in the morning. There are people asleep, so I do try to keep it down a little bit. But I will also be starting lessons very soon. I have no idea how much I'm going to charge for those things. I've already been helping a lot of people for free. It's something I really enjoy doing anyways, whether I get paid for it or not. But if you are needing a little bit of help, and like on a case-by-case basis, I do it for free. But if you are wanting to get scheduled and regular help from me, either message me in Discord and we'll figure out what we can do for you and figure out a pricing scheme for it as well. So until next time, guys, thank you so much.